It Takes Radio Company presents another adventure, the Stanley Jones Radio School for Being Fully Alive, right now. And today, does it take a woman to make a man? Well, what is that all about? Let's tell you the story of a remarkable woman. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, my name is Stan the Radio Man, and we welcome you to another adventure, another experience, a bit of an experiment. We believe that learning something about Stanley Jones, the long past but incredibly influential missionary, evangelist, statesman, philosopher, theologian, missionary, entrepreneur, well, we can learn about him, and he can help us learn about how to be fully alive, starting now and forever. So we call it the Stanley Jones Radio School for Fully Alive Living, starting now. And we hope that you will join with us and support us and recommend us to others and to help us make this outreach go and grow. And in particular, I'm deeply moved right now by my understanding. I've been in communication with many of my friends and colleagues from past experiences, and still very much my good friends, particularly those in India, who are telling me that things are difficult for people in India right now. The social and cultural and oftentimes some of the political things that are happening are making it extremely difficult for many of them right now. And this is no different than it was for Stanley Jones, who made his way to India as a young man, inexperienced, and became one of the greatest evangelists and missionary statesmen. How can we learn from him and share that? Well, first of all, let's just take a step back. We again try to remember and pray for our good friend Roberto Escamilla and his family, who many of you know through your many experiences and adventures with the ashram movement and with the life of Stanley Jones in particular, and the passing just within recent times of his good and wonderful and very talented wife, Dorothy, has passed on, and now the family is in a state of grieving and mourning and adjusting. And of course, because we have faith and because we have hope and because we know what God has promised, a celebration. As one person said, it's a celebration of graduation whenever a dear saint finds their way to the feet of Jesus as Lord. So that's happening. But that reminded me, because as Roberto said, I couldn't have done what I was able to do without her help. Now, interestingly enough, this is National Women's Month. I'm not quite sure what that is supposed to celebrate, but they're having a lot of celebrations about that and commemorations, and of course, that's true. And that reminded me of an expression that I came upon one time, and it went something like this. Indeed, God took a rib from a man to make a woman, the proverbial Adam's rib. And he did so because he knew that it would take a woman to make a man a real man. Think about that. Yeah, God made a woman out of a man because he knew it would be a woman who could make a man a real man. And there are a lot of men right now who would say, I know that. And one of my friends, when he heard that, said, and that was part of my problem. I made a bad decision. Yes, here we are. And that got me to thinking, because I was going to begin to read something about Stanley Jones. And that encouraged me with Anne Eunice, her help, the granddaughter of Stanley Jones. She gave me a book, and I'm going to recommend that all of you, every last one of you who hears this or knows this, or if you're in the ashram fellowship, I would challenge you in 2025 to make sure you read this book, A Heart of Wisdom, the long-awaited diary of Mabel Jones, the wife and life partner, and truly life partner, of Stanley Jones. I was amazed. Now, they didn't get married then go to India. They actually met in India, because she actually had a call as a young woman to make her way. Now, think about this. This is over 100 and some years ago. A young woman went to a teacher school and made her way on her own as a missionary into the wilds and woolies and the wonderful, all the world of India. There are stories of her dealing with how she dealt with the cobra snakes that were infesting her house and classroom. I'm going to very much encourage you to find out more. And I loved the title. Here we go. Camera doesn't always pick it up quite right, but here we go. A Heart of Wisdom. And by the way, you can look at that in Amazon. It's published by the Stanley Jones Foundation. Anne Matthews Eunice is giving the leadership still to that, and she was the one that helped put this book together based on her own diary and writings. And I would just simply encourage you. I heard Roberto's story. I actually heard Billy Graham's story. And then I found out more of the story of Billy Graham, and I found out, I think many of you know, he very much says, if it hadn't been for his dear wife, it never would have happened. And perhaps she was the real prayer and partnership that made his incredible ministry what it was. She cut the deal of doing the hard work so he could do the good, and sometimes get the glory work. And that has often been the story of great men, or at least the ones we call great, and maybe even have achieved greatness. That, behind every great man is probably a woman doing greater things. Well, that's simply my lesson for today. However, what happened was, and by the way, I'm just going to read you a small section of this story, which really captured it in the beginning. She's getting this job. Now, keep in mind, it was almost unheard of that, particularly in India, and actually in much of the world, that a woman could never teach a boy. No way. You had young boys, they had to be taught by men. And for a woman to be in charge of teaching boys, that was revolutionary. Here's what she said. I had lived in India long enough to recognize that these boys came from many castes and classes, even from many races. There was the unmistakable nose of the Muslim, the broad face and sturdy frame of the boy from the Himalayas, the fine features and proud bearing of boys of the higher caste. the darker complexion of boys of lower castes. What a variety, I exclaimed. There is everything, said the house father, and he began to point out individual boys. That boy with the book is from the Brahma caste. His father was a teacher. The boy beside him, his father was a priest. This one is the son of the man from the thief caste. This one was found starving and brought here by the police. This one, I stopped him. Suddenly I had seen a boy who looked very strange among the others. A boy with blue eyes and a fair skin. How did that boy get here? He lowered his voice. He knows English, that boy. The child was alert, trying to hear what was said. The mother is an Indian, said the house father, but the father is an English official. He pays well for him. He should not be here. But what do we do? Dealing with all of the politics and the possibilities and the problems of dealing with being an educator of young boys from everywhere. The blackest little boy, who was very black indeed and very little, looked up with a grin and held my hand. This one is from one of the Aborigine tribes. These tribes live here in the central provinces. God only knows how he got here. He then beckoned to a little boy with eyes as black as the blackest ink, but they had no sparkle. The saddest eyes, I thought, that I had ever seen. Hey, the police brought him here a few weeks ago. It seems he got off the train to get a drink, and he was left behind. He says the train started up and he ran after it until he was tired. Then he lay down and went to sleep. A villager found him and brought him to the police station. He knows only his name and caste. He does not know the town he came from or where his parents were going. He does give the name of a place, probably a small village, but no one seems to have heard of it. He says they walked many miles to take the train. The boy was looking at him intently with those big sad eyes. What is it, Rama? He says, have you found my mother? He asks that constantly, said the house father. I looked again into the upturned, interested faces, thin lips, finely chiseled noses, straight black hair, and those lustrous eyes which looked so frankly into mine, but which, I was to learn, could conceal very much more than they revealed. The good bishop who had asked me to take the job without money and without a price had said, I think you will find the work interesting. You will also find that it will keep you busy. He was indeed right. A heart of wisdom. What the world needs now is more men and women with wisdom, and more than that, a heart of wisdom. You see, if we're going to take the work of Stanley Jones seriously, and I want to do that, is I have to in some way be ready to imitate his manhood, his mission, take his messages seriously, and see that he is telling us that when we follow, hands up, surrender Jesus as Lord, it is only then that we might even have the possibility and the wisdom to become fully alive and to share that with others. Is that something you'd like to do and learn more about? Well, I encourage you. I hope that you would be helpful to us as we do this mission. A number of people, but just a small number from, Asbury Seminary. There's a few people there, and the foundation and in the ashram group. And I'm finding there are still a number of what I call great souled ones, is that they are, as Gandhi was described, they are people very much who are very much in touch with the soul of E. Stanley Jones. And they want to still be more like him and to share his wit, wisdom, warmth, and his witness to Jesus as the source of fully aliveness with others. If that includes you, I would love to hear from you. Again, my name is Stan. That's all you need right now, Stan the Radio Man. Preach out, don't preach to me, reach out to me at Stan, S-T-A-N, at Wit Radio. That's what it takes radio, witradio.net. Witradio.net. As some of you see this, if you'd like to make a contribution to our cause, this is something that we just enter on with, knowing that a few good people have helped us get it going. But if it's going to continue, and what I really, really want, now listen clearly, indeed, there are Christian friends throughout India. And I would love very, very much for this program to be able to help teach, reach, and sponsor so that they could get rid of the old man with the white face and find the younger man and woman with the face of India, who would then take this same teaching message and mission and put it in their own language and put it in their own words and put it in their own context far better than an old American could ever do. And they would broadcast through the wide web world of India the good message of Stanley Jones, who spent his life there, learned how to live there, buried there. And dear Mabel, who gave her life, lived there and served there. And hundreds and thousands and millions of people were reached and touched by their lives. And they would continue to be living encores. Yeah, a living encore of the Stanley Jones message, mission, and manhood and womanhood that they brought to India. I hope before I meet my maker that I will be able to be a part of making that happen. And maybe you can help me join in that Stanley Jones mission. My name is Stanley. I found out that that's perhaps the reason my mother named me that. That's another story. But I think I have an obligation to do all I can to make sure that the message becomes a living movement, and not just a monument, a living movement that moves into the lives of men and women and boys and girls today and reaches them with the love and the living way of Jesus, so that indeed they could be one of the thousands of tongues to sing and the ones who also say, in words of our song, indeed, I surrender all. Best and blessings till next time. Stan at witradio.net. Stan at witradio.net. Till then, bye for now.
to thee, my blessed Savior, I surrender all. All to Jesus I surrender, humbly at his feet I bow. Worldly pleasures all forsaken, take me, Jesus, take me now. I surrender all. I surrender all to thee, my blessed Savior, I surrender all to Jesus I surrender. Lord, I give myself to thee. Fill me with thy love and power. Let thy blessing fall on me. I surrender all. I surrender all to thee, my blessed Savior, I surrender all. I surrender all. I surrender all to thee, my blessed Savior, I surrender all to thee.